The date is Monday, April 29th. Gibson says the new collections come out in 7 hours. But it looks like CME accidentally leaked everything a little bit earlier than that. So welcome back, troglodytes, to Would You Rock or Not, the new 2019 Gibson Models edition. I've already briefly looked at these. It looks like all the same stuff we saw at NAMM, but now let's finally see these up close in stock photos. And most importantly, find out how much they cost. The first one on this lineup is one we're already familiar with for earlier in 2019, the Les Paul Jr. Tribute. However, you're going to notice it's a little bit different here. I had already done a review for the previous iteration, but take a look at this one. See where the volume and tone controls are and the output jack is located. Also, pay special attention to the wraparound tailpiece. These are now different. The tailpiece seems to be wider, the zigzag pattern there. It's not new, but it seems more pronounced. But perhaps the feature I'm most excited about here is the output jack is now located on the side of the instrument. That's something that I would personally be more comfortable with, but at the same time, I hate the new location for the volume and tone pot. That seems rather far away from where you would want to be. When it was in the old location, it was a little bit easier to do volume swells with. The rest of the instrument seems to be very basic, just like we're used to with the mahogany body and maple neck and rosewood fretboard. But why did they change the design of this midway through 2019? It's because of this bad boy right here. I've been looking forward to this. The Les Paul Special Tribute DC. Essentially, what we've got going on here is you now have a neck P90 pickup. And that's something a lot of people wanted. I'm really hopeful that they might do a 3 P90 version of this as a limited run. But here you can see, once again, output jack on the side and a 3-way toggle switch is now added in the old volume pot position. So the reason why this existing changes that is because Gibson uses the exact same body templates. I've already seen these stripped and sold by eBay sellers. The new juniors will have the neck pickup route, but now that I see the prices, you're at $899 and $999 for these. It's not necessarily economical to buy the one pickup version and route it out and change it yourself. But you'll notice $899. They rose the price on the Les Paul Jr. This version with the output jack on the front retailed new $799, and you could get a demo model for around $700. So is putting the output jack on the side really worth an extra $100? They really don't have to do that much more routing, and they put a slightly different bridge. How do you guys feel about that? I'm feeling kind of gypped. These used to be such a great value at that $799 point. Now I feel like they're kind of overpriced, especially since they only come with a gig bag. It makes me feel like they're really trying to push this one because $100 more, you get an extra pickup, you get a 3-way toggle switch. It just seems higher end, right? But these featured the slim tapered neck profile with the solid rosewood fingerboard, the maple neck, compensated wraparound tailpiece. And here's something else you might not realize. The P90s are reverse wound single coil pickups. That way you have the whole reverse polarity working for you in the middle position. It'll cancel out the hum. Continuing on, it looks like we're getting a Thunderbird bass, currently only under pre-order at this time, estimated to ship in May. It looks like it has fairly standard specs, mahogany body, 9-ply mahogany walnut neck, got a rosewood fretboard, which is always good to see. Just basic stuff here. Here's the Les Paul Tribute. This particular model ranks right under the Les Paul Studio, so it's seen as the lowest end Les Paul for this year's lineup. Looks like we still get the mahogany body with ultra modern weight relief, so that means the one with the V in it. Maple neck, that's kind of interesting on a Tribute model. And you get the 490R, 490T pickups, and still a rosewood fretboard here. So maple neck, that's kind of an interesting choice. Are they trying to tribute like a 70s Les Paul standard? I don't know. Now here's a really cool one. The Gibson USA Les Paul Modern. The Modern is taking the place of the High Performance series. So all that good fancy stuff is now on this model, and it's being offered at $2,799, which is more expensive than the standards that we'll get to later. Now, what I found interesting about this, you still have the mahogany maple top and all that. These also feature the ultra modern weight relief, but the biggest thing here for me, ebony fretboard. We get the return of ebony, but on the modern Les Paul standard? It's kind of an interesting choice. I can't say I hate it because it does kind of match the finish on these instruments. I love these natural backs with the painted tops. I think these are a lot more tasteful than some of the other high performances I've seen, but I almost feel like it should maybe have a flame top if it's modern, you know? Well, maybe not. I could see it both ways, but I love the contoured heel joint. That always works well. But this, when I saw this, I flipped out. Thank you, Gibson. Do you see this, guys? Zoom in here on the serial number. They make sense again. I love this. Somewhere in like 2014, Gibson had the bright idea to adopt the 1994 serialization system, where the first two equaled the year, and then the rest was just a production number. We now have the return of the year, day, year, batch number, and 3 production number system. So this one reads 2019, the 80th day of the year, first batch, 81st in production. This makes me so happy. I cannot tell you guys how happy that makes me. I love knowing at least when the neck was stamped. Future generations, thank you, Gibson. Also notice, no more model years. It's just made in USA. Next, we have the return of the Les Paul Studio in a Smokehouse Burst finish. You can get other ones as well, but Smokehouse Burst seems to be a very popular new color here. Overall, it seems to be a Les Paul Studio again. For some reason, early 2019 Studios got binding on the fretboard. That goes against everything a studio's about, so it's cool to see these return back to normal. But what's our price tag? $14.99. That still seems expensive for a studio. I would have liked to have seen them around like $12.99. So it seems like their price stayed steady. They're being offered with the 498T and 490R pickups. You've got ultra modern weight relief in them. You've got the maple top mahogany body. Rosewood fretboards, always good to see once again. But what's the neck made of here? Mahogany. So tried and true pairs there. So I guess that's the biggest difference between like the Studio and the Tribute. The Tributes are slightly less expensive, but that seems to all come down to the satin versus gloss finish, coil split on the new Studio, whereas the Tributes don't, and maple neck versus mahogany neck. Here's one everybody was worried about. What was happening to the Les Paul Classic? It doesn't appear to be going away. They're going to feature the 61R and 61T zebra pickups with the mahogany body, maple top. It looks like we just have traditional 9-hole weight relief in this model, so I can see the Classic being popular for that. Rosewood fretboard seems pretty basic. It looks like they've done a nice job here. This might just be a stock photo, but it almost looks like it just says Les Paul model up here on the headstock, so you could swap out the classic truss rod cover and make it look like a standard. That might actually be a bad thing, Gibson. Maybe you want to change it back to Les Paul Classic silkscreen so we don't get any of those confusions. But these are retailing at $19.99. And now the big boys, the ones everybody have been like losing their minds over. The new SG Standard 61 styles, despite one of these not having a 61 style trem on it. So sideways vibrola. I mean, these things are $19.99. That's a pretty fair price point. The one in this photo actually looks really delicious. You've got some nice wood grain there, and especially on the back. This one's pretty tempting. But you do have your choice of trem bar. You've also got this one called the Maestro. That retails at the same price, $19.99. And here's something I really like. If you don't want a tremolo unit, you can save yourself $200. They appear to be identical guitars otherwise, and this one runs $17.99. And as always, we have the good old 68 styled SG here with the Batwing pickguard still being offered at $14.99. They also have the SG Standard Bass being offered at the same $14.99 price point, and the SG USA Tribute SG. This kind of looks like what we used to call like a faded special, something like that. Looks like we got mahogany body and maple neck. They're really pushing these maple necks on everything. And here's what one of the modern SGs look like now. This is kind of interesting. I don't remember seeing this one at NAMM. Let's take a little bit extra time to look at this. When the blueberry burst finish, it kind of looks like they did that breakout burst at the bottom. I don't necessarily agree with that on this SG. It almost makes the knobs look like they're like not aligned properly. They've got the strap button in kind of a weird location, but I bet it balances better that way. But notice, none of this stuff has electronic tuners on it anymore, so they must have just completely ditched that idea. Essentially, what makes these modern SGs is you actually have a flame maple cap on these guys with exotic finishes. But on top of that, you get the ebony fretboard with 24 frets that utilizes a compound radius and an asymmetrical slim taper neck profile. Those are all comfort designs. On top of that, the Burstbucker Pro Alnico 5 pickups are also coil splittable. Continuing on with the SG Special, I guess these are actually supposed to be different from the ones earlier in the year. Like they changed the spacing of the frets to make it better intonate without an adjustable tailpiece or something like that. Might have to pick one of these up, see if it was any different than the one I've already reviewed. And we have a return of an SG Junior. They did one of these in 2018 with one of them goofy looking headstocks, which is kind of cool for collectors, but not so much for the try-hard traditionalists. This looks like it's going to be a nice Junior reissue here. It's got the traditional wrap tail piece. You don't have any lightning bar for compensation or anything. And it's got all the traditional stuff, mahogany body, mahogany neck, and rosewood fretboard. $10.99? I think that's a pretty good price point. I would be happier with like $9.99 and think it's like a great deal, but oh well. We've got a Firebird at $2,000. I don't know about you guys, I'm just not into Firebirds as much. I tend to like the Firebird 7s the most instead of like this style of them. As far as Flying V's go, we have the natural one at $16.99. That just seems high. I don't like this pick guard on these new ones. I don't think it balances very well with the instrument. The only time I liked this style of pick guard is when they have the output jack down here. Having it all together obviously saves some money in production, but then they also have an Explorer that looks similar to that. And then they kept with the B2s as well that were briefly called tributes, I guess. I did a review on one of those. I actually just recently traded it away. So we've got the regular style Flying V and Explorer and then the dark blacked out Explorer. And these ones are now running $13.99. This is another one I'm kind of interested in trying out, the Les Paul Junior Tribute Bass. It's kind of a throwback to the EBO models here, but we've got a different pickup. We've got an intonatable 3-point bridge. It's just very similar to the Special and Junior as we've been talking about. I just like this body shape. I think it works. I like the pickguard designs. That's kind of controversial, I guess. Some people hate it, but it just reminds me of like a 70s Marauder or something. Big pickguards are kind of cool to me. Look at that goofy headstock. I like it. Those are interesting tuners. I don't think I've seen them on a Gibson before, but yeah. Doesn't look like our quality control got any better. Look how crooked that is. And now the big two, the 50s and 60s Les Paul standards. These are retailing at $24.99. That is a really attractive price point for many people because that's about what a really nice used Les Paul standard would go for from the golden era. So they've listened to people here. We no longer have any weight relief. We've got a nice flame maple top with a mahogany body. You've got the mahogany neck. You've got the rosewood fretboard. And once again, no weight relief. That is huge here. But at what price are we paying? We are seeing the return of 10.5-pound instruments. I'll be interested to see how many people start complaining, oh, my Les Paul's too heavy again. This one's a little bit more respectable at just under 10 pounds, but it looks like 10 pounds is going to start being the average. The gold finish in this stock photo is not really doing it for me either. I hope these look better in person. So which model is your favorite from the new 2019 lineup? And what do you think about Gibson's new pricing points? Personally, again, I'm really upset that these are now no longer such a great value. $8.99 breaks it for me. $7.99 felt right for that model. Overall, I honestly feel kind of underwhelmed. There's just too much basicness going on. I appreciate that Gibson is going back to the basics. You know, they're getting their guitar business up and running, but their guitar business was never the one that was, in jeopardy in any way. They needed to get their quality control going back up. But what I really want to see are the limited edition 2019s. How are they going to top things like the modern Flying V and the Ice Flame of last year? Or is it time just to lose interest in Gibson? Are they no longer going to appeal to me in that aspect? So it'll be interesting to see what the future brings here, but hey, it's launch day for the new 2019 Gibson models. Thank you, Troglodytes, for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.